Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Tube, and Pokemon has just revealed legendary birds for Generation 8. Galar legendary birds that are counterparts to the Kanto legendary birds. I'm gonna explain them here. Something we've always wanted in Pokemon is crossover between generations. Pokemon stories have always been within its own region and generation, and fans have always tried to connect different stories and regions past with others, and it was something Pokemon fans always wished Game Freak would do. Hell, even I made a video for Mega Evolutions for Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres that I sat down with an artist and design because I wanted Pokemon to just introduce them back and expand their lore so bad. And Pokemon is doing it. Zapdos, Articuno, and Moltres, known as the legendary birds, and in some places apparently called the Phantom Wings, they belong to Kanto. We never really knew what these Pokemon were, except that they were deemed legendary. Back in Gen 1 lore, playing these games, the feeling it gave me was Zapdos, Articuno, and Moltres were just normal Pokemon that were just extremely rare, and you could only find them one time in the entire game. Hence why you would just talk to the bird in the power plant and it starts a simple battle as if it was just a normal encounter. That subtle encounter, but it being a one-time battle, is what made it legendary. Despite these being Gen 1 legendaries, the tables are about to turn, as they can now be considered Generation 8 legendaries as well, with the introduction of these three. The information we got is vague, but right now the leading idea is that this is Galarian Articuno, this is Galarian Zapdos, and Galarian Moltres. Which, just to say the least, man, it's mind-blowing. Gotta give a quick clap to Game Freak, man. Thank you so much for doing this. This is about to get so exciting in Pokemon. The first question is, how can a legendary Pokemon have regional variants? That's a result of evolving differently. Ninetales evolved in Alola, meanwhile Ninetales evolved in Kanto. They're different. Well, for most cases, yes, but we don't know what Zapdos, Articuno, and Moltres really even are. The idea to make it easy is that meanwhile, while these three birds roamed Kanto, that another set of them at the same time was roaming the outer islands of Galar, and you can't prove which one came first. I'll explain a sort of plot twist on how they can actually exist in Galar like this and how they came to be, but before that, let's take a look at these three and figure out what their typings are, because this is the big talk right here. First up, Galarian Articuno. First of all, actually, these designs are straight killer. Like, what is this? The normal birds look plain as hell compared to these. And in fact, one might even say these are the more complete forms of the three versus the calm, passive forms they have in Kanto. But anyhow, Articuno. There's a lot you can speculate. Articuno is most likely going to stay an ice type, but based off how it looks, it almost looks like maybe these three birds may actually lose their flying typing, because it looks like they've got a much more prominent typing about to kick in. And this difference between losing its flying typing for a new typing versus the Kanto forms will be the difference for a debate on whether the Kantonian birds or the Galarian birds are better, which is really weird to say. They can be considered Galarian birds. It's like how you call Exeggutor a Kantonian Pokemon when in reality it's an Alolan Pokemon, and Alola came first. You can't prove these weren't Gen 8 legendaries to begin with, and we just got them early in Gen 1. Of course, we know what the deal is. Articuno, formerly Ice Flying here, looks like it may now become an Ice Psychic type or an Ice Fairy type. Now, Ice and Psychic are two very offensive typings, which would make it good, but it also doesn't have many resistances, like at all. Jinx and Mr. Rime are the only other Ice Psychic types we have right now, and they're just full-out offensive Pokemon. They don't have the time to be defensive. Quite frankly, the only thing it resists is Ice and Psychic. In my opinion, Ice and Fairy could work as a better typing, even if it offers a 4x weakness to Steel. What do you think? Does it look more serene like a Fairy type, or does it look telepathic like a Psychic type? My final verdict is that it's Ice Psychic. I feel like this got that Alakazam and Mewtwo-like psychic powers in it, and that design is killer. Next up, Zapdos. This one is pretty awesome. It straight up lands on the ground and has giant claws on its legs as if it's just gonna stay there, like a giant ostrich or emu or chocobo. This one is the easiest to get the feel that they'll all lose their flying typings. It's hard. What typing do you think this is? Do you think it's electric normal? Do you think maybe it's just straight pure electric? That'd be pretty dope actually, just pure electric. One typing that's possible is electric ground. Not much to say here, it's grounded, and maybe Zapdos truly has potential with the ground and it just always flew in the sky to be that way in Kanto. I mean, an electric Zapdos hitting a stab earthquake, specifically a this looking Zapdos, would actually be badass. But take this lightly, I'm just playing, but imagine electric dragon. Y'all know why I'm saying it. It's them damn legs. These straight up some thick legs. And dragon claws. I mean, look at its face. He actually looking dragon. If I didn't tell you this was Zapdos, you'd think this is an electric dragon. But I think my final verdict is that this thing could be, and probably might be, an electric fighting type. Just like the ostrich, emu, chocobo about to whip your ass that I said. I don't think anyone would have expected that Zapdos that was floating in the sky, launching down thunderbolts from the other side of the cloud, right now turn into an emu with fighting type claws. I want these dudes to get signature moves. So Zapdos gets a fighting type claw attack that does like 100 damage. Electric fighting. And before we end it, last but not least, Moltres. Moltres. This is quite possibly the most insane looking one. I barely even recognize it. If they showed only this in the trailer, and then a few weeks later they told us that this is actually Moltres, my mind would be blown. It's got those ketchup chips colored flames like when it's shiny, except now its entire body is black. And it actually looks like it's hunting for prey, not just chilling. There's not much to say here. Some people are even saying it might retain fire flying, because it really does look like that. But maybe this thing is about to become a fire dark type. I think that's my best verdict for this one. All three of the typings I mentioned are insane. And if these dudes got new abilities or new moves, it would actually be insane. It would be such a cool twist. Gen 8 is about to be crazy compared to previous gens. On top of me just giving these final verdicts, one thing I noticed with the typings I just gave is that Ice Psychic, Electric Fighting, and Fire Dark would actually make a typing trio with their secondary types. Anyhow, you let me think what you think the typings are in the comments. The fact that we're actually able to discuss this and it's full on real is still settling in my head. Stuff like this is something I've always wanted. You gotta give a clap to Game Freak, man. Okay, now, so how can Galarian forms of the legendary birds exist? Well, let me tell you. This is just my idea. Perhaps Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres are three unrelated birds that roam together, either roaming in Kanto or roaming in Galar. But what if Articuno, Moltres, and Zapdos actually are related? Perhaps the reason Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres can evolve differently in Galar is because they literally evolved into that in Kanto. What I'm saying is, what if Articuno, Moltres, and Zapdos actually evolved from something, from the same pre-evolution? A little elementless bird that in Kanto spreads its wings into either Zapdos, Articuno, and Moltres. It would literally be like Eevee again, except they just never told us. That would explain if you took that same elementless pre-evolution to Galar and had it spread its wings there, these are the evolutions you'd get. But that's just my idea. I always thought that there should be at least one or two more sets of these legendary birds roaming somewhere, and now this just confirms it. Shank that like if you enjoyed this, and don't even get me started on the fact that these three birds already have a leader that hasn't even been mentioned, but that's for another video. Alright my dude, shank that like button, subscribe if you're new to join the squad, let me know your favorite of the three in the comments below and your ideas on what really happened here, and I'm gonna see you dudes tomorrow. Peace.